It's me, Cappy. My mommy is the best. Superman will be next. She helps mommy. It looks my looks black. Your dick looks black. And this might go black. You wait for the straw. Brush. Get ready for Pet Super's ugly. Pet Super's glad.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of Healing for the Soul podcast, sponsored by Robin Stoltman, with this being season number 6, episode number 13. If you are ever looking for a virtual assistant who can edit your social media content, grow your social medias, book clients, and much more that all businesses require, I highly recommend Sphere Rocket for all your virtual assistant needs. The link to Sphere Rocket is at the bottom of this episode. And before we get started, I am your host, Robin Stoltman, and every week I feature different guests to help you become the best version of yourself through different methods you may not have heard of or thought of. And make sure to subscribe and keep coming back for more. And today I have my guest, Daniel Deinsky. He's 24 years. He was with the Secret Service in Washington, D.C., and now works in the Pinellas County school systems in Florida. And today he is on the show talking about school emergency, and let's get started. Thank you so much, Daniel, for being here with our audience today. And I'm sorry about all the butchering I did of names. I'm sure you're kind of used to it.
It's okay, Robin. Thank you so much for having me on. And just one qualification, I no longer work for the Pinellas County school system. I left there after Marjorie Stoneman Douglas down here in Florida after that issue that they had there, the active shooter event. So now I just am a consultant and wrote my book called The First 5 Minutes. And I do these podcasts to try to get information out there for parents to be aware of what's going on in the school systems. And I'm glad I asked you, you're a super mom and that you have children. So moms and dads, especially, very protective of their kids nowadays, especially in today's environment, which we know as social media and the phones and everything is just kind of crazy.
Yes.
And a lot of parents, as you know, even from years ago, you just don't have time anymore. When do we sit down and have dinner with our families anymore? We don't, because we don't have time, or the kids are doing sports or other things, or they're on the phone or internet or games. So it's very important, especially now. And I'm not here to scare people, obviously. We know these things happen. We know there is danger out there. We know that. That's just a fact of life. However, I come on here to make sure you are prepared and you know what to ask, what to do, and what to look for your children's school in emergencies. So I don't want to specifically talk about just active shooters. Look, they happen. Yes, they do. But it's like being struck by lightning. It's very, it's going to be just an event that is not going to happen. However, I want to keep everyone prepared. As long as you're prepared, then you know what to do. The school knows what to do. You know what's happening with your children. So with that being said, I would like all the parents, I don't care if they're elementary school all the way up to high school, to take 5 minutes out of their day and just ask them, what is going on at your school during an emergency? Everything from if there's an event, a police event outside of the school, an active shooter inside the school, a bomb threat, fire, what exactly are you doing? And, you know, most kids, and look, I've got a teenager saying, oh, mom, oh, dad, yeah, they take care of it. You know, I don't even pay attention. Well, you kind of have to. You're going to have to pay attention. What happens during these events? If you hear from your children that, oh, if there's a bad guy, if there's someone with a gun in the school, what we're going to do is we're going to evacuate. We're just going to run out, and like in a fire drill, we're going to run out. I know they kind of get a little gut feeling about that. Why are you running out, you know, for something like that? Do they know where the shooter is? Why are you running out? The other thing is that some of these trainings have you, and it's stopped in some of them, but it has continued. It's called ALICE training, and the schools love this kind of thing. It's an acronym, and ALICE training is an acronym called Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Evacuate. You don't need to remember all that. If you just hear the word ALICE, just all of a sudden the red flag should go up going, wait, what are you doing? Because part of this ALICE training is they have children throw things at a gunman if a gunman gets into the classroom. Now, to me, it's not only not common sense, it's just absolutely ridiculous to have children. They used to have kids bring soup cans and stuff in, and thank God some of these schools stopped that. Yeah, bring a soup can in, because if a gunman gets in there, we're going to throw it at him. Like, oh my God, what happened to common sense? So if you hear things like this Alice training, or they're going to have your children throw things at the gunman, or they're going to have your children leave a perfectly safe classroom and run out of the building into, I don't know what kind of chaos is going on, that's where your red flag should be going up, and you should say, wait a minute. Wait. I got to find out specifically. Then the parent needs to call the school. If you're getting pushback, because as you know, schools will circle the wagons. If that's not good enough, go in front of the school board. Get your paper. You can get a page and a half in about 3 minutes. That's all they usually give you. And again, if that doesn't satisfy you, now you got to go to your state legislatures. And if that doesn't happen, and I hate to say this, sometimes you have to pull the kids out. You have to go private. You have to go homeschool. It's just, they're not going to listen to you. You don't want your children to be in unsafe situations. So with that being said, what I follow, what everyone should follow, I'm old school, I'm blunt, I'm sorry, but anything emergency, when you have an active shooter on campus, it should be locked down. The classroom doors should already be locked during the school time. I know you get pushback from teachers, say, oh my gosh, they got to go to the bathroom, they got to go there. No, tough. Lock the door. You're already one step ahead. The door is locked, the blinds are closed, you close the little window in the door, kids sit on the floor, you silence your phone, turn the lights off, everyone's quiet, you don't listen to any announcements, you do not open that door at all for any purpose at all, and you sit and you wait. And you may wait for a long time. You may wait for hours. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. This is reality. These things happen, but you're prepared. Now, the pushback I get, I'm going to play devil's advocate. Oh, they're sitting ducks. They're sitting ducks. They're in trouble. They're not. In all the history of all the years, this goes back hundreds of years, way before Columbine, we were having school shootings. No shooter has ever breached a locked door. They won't do it. It takes too long. There's no reason for them to sit there trying to break through a locked door. They are looking for easy access. The great video they have from Nashville, Tennessee is when that shooter came and knocked out the glass doors, and you see them going down the hallway testing the doors. Locked, they move on. Locked, move on. Open, they go in. They're not going to take the time to stop and try to shoot out a locked door. And one perfect example, this was back in 2005 or 6, I'm not exactly sure of the year, in Red Lake, Minnesota. You had an individual there who was mentally unstable, obviously, killed his grandfather, killed his grandfather's girlfriend, ran to the school with a shotgun, killed the security guard, saw a teacher down the hallway, went running after her. She ran into a classroom, locked the door, and he stood there 3 times and shot at that door lock for 3 separate times. It didn't budge. He went around the corner, found a window, and got in that way. Now, they captured him. Everybody's fine. He did kill a couple kids. This is a long time ago. Anyway, I just want to make that emphasis that in that classroom, when you're sitting down with the door locked, you are perfectly safe. You do not need to evacuate. Now, if you're targeted, that's a whole different obvious. If they're targeting Mrs. Jones or Mr. Jones, that's a whole different subject. And if they're going to stay at that door trying to get in, well, guess what? You've got a heavy-ass desk that you could push up and block that door, and they're not getting in. I don't care what. They're not getting in. Okay, that's the main thing. And a lot of this training is, if they're in the classroom, what do we do? Look, they're not getting in. They're not. Now, the other thing that comes out in a lot of these situations is what's called options-based training. They put the option on the teacher. Now, if I put myself in the place of a teacher, I don't care if I have a gun or not, if I don't have a gun. And the school is telling me, hey, you've got the option. You can stay in your classroom or you can evacuate. Robin, why would they put that liability on a teacher who has no training in this area at all? And now they have to make a split-second decision with 25 to 30 children they're supposed to protect and wonder, should I go? Should I stay? I don't know. Why put that liability on the teacher? Stay in the classroom. You are perfectly safe. I don't care if you have someone you trust saying, hey, I saw the gunman. They're in another building. Come on, let's go. No, I don't trust anybody. Maybe they saw him. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. Why am I leaving this class? And you know what? Well, those 25 to 30 children that you have in that classroom, I guarantee you, you're going to get 5 or 6 that are going to go, whoa, my dad is law enforcement. He told me I stay in the classroom. I'm not going anywhere. Or they will actually freeze just in terror. I'm not going anywhere. So now you're herding cats. Forget it. Stay where you're at. Lock the door. They're not getting in. The only reason at the end of this whole thing, the only ones who are going to unlock that door are the administrators or a police officer with a key to open your door and say it's over. Now you are safe. Or if possible, if you're on the first floor and you have windows and there are police officers outside at the window saying, hey, I can get you out this way. Come on, we'll come out this way. Okay, fine. The police are there, they're taking care of you. But otherwise, no reason to leave that classroom. And it really drives me crazy. I've got people that are so adamant about this type of training to actually leave the classroom and evacuate for absolutely no reason at all. There's no fire. There's nothing like that. You're just sitting, waiting until this situation is taken care of. So 2 things I always say in these podcasts. Number 1, you always keep yourself safe. And that goes with parents. If you're at a mall, at a movie theater, whatever, keep yourself safe first. Then you're going to be able to help others. And when it's in reference to a school, I have principals, especially in elementary school, that are so emotional because, I mean, come on, they're little kids. And you feel like, a parent, oh my gosh, they're just, come on, little kids, they're very naive, they're innocent, they listen to you, and they're family. So I've had principals absolutely tell me, no, I don't care if it's a drill or real thing. I'm going out on my campus to make sure those doors are locked. I said, well, are you carrying a gun? Well, no. I said, well, where are you going? I said, no, you're putting yourself in harm's way. Do not do that. Lock yourself in your classroom, your office, lock the door. I know it's hard. Principals, teachers, it's your alpha personalities. You want to do something. You feel you need to do something. No, you don't. You need to keep yourself safe, keep your kids safe. Don't do something stupid. And I'm sorry, but there's been plenty of events. Sandy Hook, principal died. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, the gym teacher died. Nashville, principal died. All these people went out and tried to challenge the shooter and try to talk them down. Robin, it's too late. This should have been done months ago.
Yeah, it should have.
At this point, they're beyond that. They're already at the end, whether suicide by cop, they kill themselves, or they give up. It's over. I mean, their mind is elsewhere. They're not listening to anyone. They're not going to listen. Not at that point. So keep yourself safe. Then you can help others. The second thing is I highly advocate for school resource officers that are armed. Now, I know there's been issues. Look, we've had Uvalde, we had Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. That is a small, tiny percentage of how these officers did not do the job they were supposed to do. I've got them here in Florida. These people, men and women, they love children. They love what they're doing. They go through intense training. They like what they're doing. They want to be there. They are an advocate for the parents, the teachers, and the children. They're not there to harass them or arrest them or any of this other stuff that was going on with this defund police movement. They're not police officers. They are there to protect you if something happens, and they like what they're doing. So I always advocate, if the money is available, whether it's a grant or some fund, get yourself school resource officers in there. Now, with that being said, a lot of times what these schools will do will be, oh, we got funds, we have a grant, we'll get metal detectors. No, metal detectors are what they call security theater. They look real good. We see them at airports. Oh my gosh, they're terrific. No, they're not, because number one, they're not going to stop someone who's crazy enough to come into a school with a gun. Do you think if some crazy, insane person sees a metal detector, oh my gosh, well, I guess I'll avoid that school? No, they'll just run in and kill everybody. What the hell? And you know what? The other thing is, if the kid, because parents have to understand, there's somebody watching that school all the time, whether for bad intent or good intent. Somebody's watching. And these people that have mental instability are watching for months on end. This is not something a kid woke up one day and said, oh, I'm going to go shoot up a school today. These take months of planning, whatever they're following, whether it's Columbine or something else that they're following. They're watching what goes on. That kid Cruz at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas here in Florida, he was a former student there. He was observing that school for months. He knew which doors were open. He knew all which gates were open, where he could get in. He knew the layout of the school. So they're watching. So you have to understand when you have something like that happen where they're watching what's going on, metal detector, all that's going to do is mean, well, I'll just go on the side door. There's always a door wedged open at a high school, for God's sakes. My buddy will let me in. He'll let my backpack in. Here, take this for me. Or a pizza delivery. Or he's stepping out for a cigarette. There's always ways around it to get a weapon into that school. Metal detectors do nothing. Cameras, yes, they do help. But I wouldn't focus so much on cameras that they're the be-all, end-all of everything to help with school security. AI, it's coming. It's very slow. It's coming. There are AI technologies out there. Again, expensive. Right now, the best they can do is they can see a weapon, but it has to be exposed. Meaning if someone from a parking lot is walking up to that school, they have to have the weapon out and exposed. They'll be able to see it. If it's hidden in clothing, they can't see through clothing yet. I think eventually they will, but not yet. So cameras are good to a certain degree, but try to stay away from the technology and keep your people trained the correct way and make them take it seriously. And I know we don't have a lot of time, Robin, but we could talk a little bit about how often to run these drills. I like to have them at least quarterly. I know when you get into the middle and high school areas, it is a disruption. You're taking an hour, maybe an hour and a half out of the day. So it's like, oh my gosh, I've got all this testing and I had to get my grades up and my kids' grades up. How are we going to get this done? And what they'll do is try to shortchange it. So what they'll do is prepare, or they'll get it done early, or they'll make an announcement, which is the wrong way to do these type of drills. Run them properly and run them, of course, in conjunction with your police department, whoever would be responding. You have to have that good relationship with the police or with your school resource officers that are there. They're the ones that are going to be responding. And as you know, we talked about a bit about Uvalde or Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, where this resource officers basically screwed up or just didn't respond. I had the training. It used to be you have to wait for 2 or 3 people to show up. Now it's like one person can go. You go. You're going. I don't care. That's what you signed up for. That's what you're paid for. You're going. Okay? And that's what I would say 99.9% of the police officers and school resource officers are trained to do. They're going to stop the threat. So that's just a little bit quickly about how much I want to talk about this stuff and have parents be aware to ask their kids what's going on.
No, and I appreciate it too, because yeah, you are right about it. I know, and like you said, before we even started that, it is a hard topic because a lot of people don't want to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that at the same time, it's kind of like life insurance, health insurance, auto insurance. It's just in case.
Yes.
But at least you know what to do, kind of like fire. You know exactly what to do because you've done it so much. You know exactly what to do. But as you were talking, I was thinking, because I remember Columbine when I was in school, when that had happened. And then right away after that, there was a bomb threat in the school. There was a couple other things that happened because they were copycats.
Yes.
From the troubled kids. And that's who does this type of stuff. It's the troubled children who don't get paid attention to at home. Mm-hmm. That's exactly who does it.
Yes. No,
and people think it's all this other stuff, and it's like, no, it's the troubled ones. The parents didn't pay attention to them. That's where it starts. I'm just saying. Yep. But you are right. It does take months to plan something like that out because they're not doing it. They don't just wake up one day and do it. It's months.
Yes.
And it's the parents that are at fault for it. I think the parents should be charged for it. I'm just saying. If your kid does it, I think they should be charged for it. Parents...
they did. I guess in that one area, they did when the student got a hold of a weapon and they charged the parents. Every situation is different, and I'm sure that was a different situation. But again, the good thing is, within the past 5 years, most of these schools have started a committee, and it's called a threat assessment committee. Okay. And they will have files on each of these students that there's been issues with. And I don't mean issues like, oh, drawing a gun or pointing a gun or making a joke. I mean serious issues where you have, and again, I always tell with students and stuff and kids, look, you're not snitching. You're not. You're protecting
No.
you're protecting. If you see something, it's the old cliche, see something, say something. Find a mentor, find someone you can trust. Say, hey, I don't know what's going on with Steve or Julie or whatever, but they're changing. You see their dress, they're acting depressed. There's something going on. Can we get some help for them? That's it. That's all you have to say. Then they're going to get help for them. But they start these threat assessment teams, and you make sure you have the principal, assistant principal, one of the police officers there, a social worker if you can, and then they'll sit down and they weekly will go through what's going on with Steve or Johnny or Julie. And it's all everything's fine. They're in a program. They've got a mentor. They got a person. Blah blah blah. Or the other way, like, yeah, I don't know what's going on with them. They haven't shown up for school. Blah blah blah. This and that. However, it's a real fine line, as you know, because you don't want to get into now. They can go into their lockers. I mean, I know kids still have lockers now because it's school property. They can do that. Getting onto the social media or their emails or stuff like that gets into areas that really gray areas on something like that. So it's just something that it's when it gets to the point, obviously you turn it over to police, that's one thing. But these threat assessment teams work. They're aware. They make sure everyone else is aware. So it's just something, again, that's a good thing to nip it in the bud way ahead of time before it gets to the point where it's too late. But the other thing is, I'm sorry, you were going to say something.
No, I was going to say, which I agree with you right away on that, because it's being proactive. At the same time, it's like when they're kids, I'm not sorry, but kids should not have any privacy. When they're 18 and under, they don't deserve it. They haven't earned it. And I'm not sorry, but my own kids, they don't have that stuff, because I'm like, unless you're making money, you don't need it. And plus, they're a kid. They don't need that stuff. That's just my thought on it. And it keeps them safe. But I was also thinking, like when Columbine happened, the ones that got killed were the ones that ran. Because I was thinking about what you had said. Those were the ones that got killed. It wasn't the ones that were locked. Because wasn't it like one of the lunchrooms or something like that was locked up? Yeah.
Yes.
And that was locked up, if I remember right. And that's why they couldn't get in. I mean, but it does make sense, because they're not going to waste their time. They're already in that state way beyond repair that they're done, so they're not going to do anything. But at the same time, I know like the schools here in South Dakota, where I'm specifically located at, I know that they lock the doors to the school, like you can't get in. But again, I'm taking my children to a private school, not a public. So I was also wondering, like, the safety on that part, if you've noticed the difference between the safety public versus private. Is there much difference between the two?
I'm sure there's data out there, Robin, on something like that. I haven't seen it one way or another. And as you know, most of these shootings are in like very odd places. You don't see most of these shootings in urban areas like New York City, LA, Chicago, Miami. You see them in kind of suburbanish rural areas where this happens. So that is, to me, strange. Also, you don't usually see them in very low income areas, in whether it's Black or Hispanic neighborhoods. It's mostly in middle class kind of again rural areas. So that again is just a little strange. But public to private, I don't think is a big difference. Private maybe has a little more, pays more attention, and has the ability and the time to run better drills, to be able to hire school resource officers. I'm sure put that into their tuition. So that's where somebody who's kind of mentally unstable would say, well, I'll kind of avoid that because we already know, what they've got there, and we'll stay with the public side. So yeah, you're paying for it, and you're also paying for their security, which is a good thing. So, but I don't think there's one or the other, that they happen more often in private than in public, probably more so in public. I mean, it's just kind of common sense that way.
I was going to say, there's been a couple times, like in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, for example, I've heard of a shooting. My cousin was actually at the mall when it had happened, when there was one a couple months ago, and she just ran and got out. But to me, I'm thinking, Wouldn't a smart thing be to go somewhere where you could be locked away from people? Like when this is going on? That's just my own common sense thinking. I would rather be locked up somewhere else where they can't get to me versus I'm running. Because to me, running is just like a deer. You can just take care of them all at the same time.
Yeah, I've
That's
had
just
that
what
too,
I
where
see, though.
it's, we talk about, let's say a high school, because I remember we had a drill at a high school where it was just chaotic. And in some sense, chaos kind of works because it's confusing for the shooter also because there's people running everywhere. Yeah, could they just start spraying and stuff? But they don't want that. They want that close up, face to face kind of just waiting there, in terror to be shot. That's what they want. They don't want to be running and chasing people around. So it really doesn't matter. But you're right. Most of these malls nowadays, I think they have options where if something like that happens, boom, they close the gates and lock it up and let the police take care of it. But yeah, it's that would be a better option if I was involved in something like that. But again, you want to protect your family first before you help others. But yeah, that makes sense. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and this is not my lane, but it's become more and more prevalent. And I think down here in Florida, they're starting to get away from it. I know New York is talking about it, taking cell phones out of the classrooms and having kids learn without the phone in front of them constantly. And I know you can't start at high school. You have to start at the lower level because then as you go on, you won't need it anymore. But there's plenty of studies out there from Asia, from Europe, where these phones have been taken out of the classroom and these kids are just focusing better. They're interacting with each other better. They learn, their grades have gone up, and they don't miss the phones. They don't miss them. And as you know, I'm sure you've had, when you said you had your children, I'm sure it's like the way I find it is like an alcoholic. If you try to take that phone away from them immediately, they are grabbing it and putting it to their chest. Oh, no. That's that dopamine hit that they're getting from these phones. And the reason I bring that up is because it does affect school security. And I know we got a short time, but there was a couple of times when I had a bomb threat in one school and a threat of a gun in another, where these phones just became a pariah to not only the emergency responders, but everybody in the school system. Because what happens is you start getting the rumors and the texts coming out of false information. When I had the bomb threat, it was a 1,500 person high school with 3 floors. And here come the firemen and here come the police. We're going to have to check the school for this bomb threat. And here come the texts. Here they come. I saw a package on the 2nd floor with wires. Oh no, it was on the 1st floor. It was in front of so-and-so's room. And this went on and on, basically all day. Same thing with the one with the gun. I had a gun in a high school here, Clearwater High School in Clearwater, Florida. Again, 1,000 person school. And there was a rumor that went around and they came to a teacher and said, hey, I saw a guy with a gun in the bathroom. Come to find out it was false. However, here come the texts. No, I saw Johnny had the gun in this room. No, it was over in this room. I saw, and this went on all day. And it's like, this is just ridiculous. Why do these kids have these phones? There's absolutely no reason for them to have phones in the school. None. So that to me, it bothered me so much. I said, this has to end because it's just crazy. But again, that's my opinion. I know a lot of parents want their kids to have phones in the school. I mean, I'm old school. My parents wanted to get a hold of me. You call the front desk, bring him to the front. He forgot his lunch. I mean, you didn't need a stinking phone. But anyway.
Well, no, I agree with you. It makes sense. Like phone, like that's one of those things that irritate me with parents. That's why I'm like, they're the average low class mentality when they're like, my kid needs a phone. No, they don't. You just don't. If you don't trust your kid. And I'm not sorry, but that's why my kids don't even have that stuff. No. Because I seen what my sister did with her kids, giving them that stuff. And I'm like, oh, no. I am not going to have behavior problems. No, thank you. So that's exactly why I learned from stupid people with what not to do.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, it's kind of rough in today's society when you don't talk to each other. You're texting each other from across the room. Yeah. They're right there. But I'm going to text you back and forth. Are you kidding me? That's a pet peeve. But anyway, back to school security.
Yeah, sorry.
But anyway,
a little distracted.
That's okay. When we talk about school systems now, again, it is the training. It is training your people. It is the humans that are involved. It's not so much technology. You do want only one entrance into that school. You keep all the doors locked everywhere else. So when someone comes into the lobby, they have a lobby area there where you're checked in and there's only one way in or out. You're either buzzed in or swiped in to be able to get into the school once they check you. And again, all the classroom doors are already locked, so there's no issues that way. Otherwise, I've had issues with elementary schools, and I don't know if you've had that where you are, but very beginning of the school, you'll have like 3 days where you've got new students to come in, kindergarten, first grade, whatever, new students. You got 3 days where the parents get to take them all the way to the classroom and drop them off. And they go, for the first 3 days, I get it. After that, usually the kids are like, hey, mom, dad, I got it. Because they don't want to be embarrassed either. Oh, your parents are taking you to school. No, they don't want that. They want to be independent. Nope. I had an elementary school here where they did this all year round. It drove me crazy. They were not checked in, nothing. They just walked in. I said, and the principal finally, thank God, the principal was like, I can't deal with this anymore. I said, fine, we're not going to deal with it anymore. We cut it off. Oh my God, I had to have a meeting at night at the school. Hundreds of parents showed up. They said, this is the reason we moved to this district, because I'm allowed to take my child directly to the classroom. And it took me hours to get them to understand what was going on. I said, I finally had two people in front. I said, sir, miss, do you know each other? No, I just see this person when I walk in school. Well, do you know what they do outside of school? No, I don't know. Thank you. I don't trust anybody. Now, do you think it would be proper for that person sitting next to you to go into the classroom and talk to or touch or bully your child? Well, no. Well, I said, what do you think they're doing? The reason they want to take their kids all the way into the classroom is they either got an issue with the teacher or they have an issue with another child bullying their child. I said, and you're allowing them to roam around the school. The principal, no one knows where these people are. If there's an emergency, they have no idea who's in their school. They have no idea about anything. And I take it to the next level. I'm sorry. If it's not just the parents, what if you got the neighbor John? What if you got Uncle Bill? What if you got some predator taking your child into school and they go into the bathroom? Hell, now they got free reign to take pictures of all these little kids and stuff. It's like, are you kidding me? It took me hours, and finally, at least 3/4 of them finally agreed with me. Some of them didn't. They just like, no, I'm pulling my kid out. Okay, there's something wrong with you then. I mean, if you're going to do that. But this idea that they own, that was their whole thing. It's our school. I own the school. I can go wherever I want. No, you can't. It's not your school. It's your child's school, not your parents' school. So that, oh my gosh, it took forever. And that was happening across the district. And thank God we finally put a plan in place saying, no. You're not taking your kid to school being unchecked with no identification, nothing. And I would get that from PTA members too, going, oh no, we got to run to the school. No, you don't. No. So be careful about who's allowed into the school and being able to go willy-nilly wherever. And I'll tell you, you always got to watch out. I had to take action because my supervisor said to me, hey, I got a problem with this school here. The superintendents want you to take a look at it. So I go in, and every day we had to wear a badge. I hide my badge. I put a hat on. I put a hood on. I went to this elementary school, and I noticed their back gate, there was a latch lock that was always unlocked. And the reason when I called the head plant operator, I said, why is that unlocked back there? He says, I'm the only person here. I have to run all over. If there's a delivery, I told them, look, the gate's unlocked. Just come in and do the delivery, and I'll handle it later. Really? So I sat there and watched this gate, and he left it unlocked. I said, okay. I went up, opened the gate, walked in. At elementary school, I go to the picnic area. I sit there. Now, I'm not acting like a real bad guy. I'm just sitting there. And everybody, hi, how you doing? Hi, kids. Everybody's waving. I'm some stranger. I have no pass. I have nothing. I walked off the street. Everybody's friendly. Hi, how you doing? Who am I? I could be some freak. I could grab a kid, be gone in 5 minutes. Gone. It drove me crazy. I sat there for 20 minutes, Robin. I had enough of this. I went into the office from inside, and they're like, can I help you? I said, yeah, I just walked in from inside your school. Where do you think I came from? Oh, you need to be checked in. Really? From inside? What are you people doing? I talked to the principal. Oh, no, we have our teachers always look out for strangers. Well, no, you didn't. So you always have to be aware of what's going on. And I understand it. I understand people don't like conflict. They don't want confrontation. You don't have to do that. You walk up to the person. I see you don't have a pass on. The office is right behind. Can I escort you? Or get someone to escort them. If they're a big burly guy you're afraid of, fine. Get the gym teacher, get somebody, anybody over to escort this person to get a pass. This happens all the time. Robin, I could go to a high school right now and walk around for half an hour and nobody will say anything to me. It's happened. I had it happen. I did the same thing. I went to a high school. I'm walking around for half an hour. It drove me nuts. Everybody's like waving. Hey, how you doing? How's everything? How you doing? Unbelievable. Unbelievable that you just don't take the time to make sure someone is supposed to be in that school. So
that's irresponsible.
Absolutely.
And that's like the first thing that I'm thinking is like, that's irresponsible of the school.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd never do that in the private school here. Cause like I said, they had that's locked. You're not getting in that school at all. No.
Absolutely. And I want to push this to public school. So I'm not here to scare parents, but if parents notice something like that, you got to bring it up. Like, what is going on? How could you allow this person to wander around the campus when they're unchecked? Just some stranger walking in. So that's just something, again, just to be aware of. And I would say kids also. You see somebody, a stranger, talk to somebody. Hey, who is that person walking around? I don't know who they are. They don't have a pass on. They're not a teacher. What are they doing here? So again, it just has to be aware. And it's not technology. It's the people. It's the human touch that you have to make your school safe. And kids, take ownership. I have these kids that come up and say, oh, this problem, that problem. You know what? Take ownership. Get on a committee. Walk the school. I'm sure if you have school resource officers going around in their golf cart or whatever, you know what? Do it yourself. If you see a door open, well, good God, and it's wedged open, say something to somebody. Close the darn door. Take ownership of your school. You love your sports. You're all cheering for your sports. Well, take ownership of your school and the safety of your school. So I put it on the kids also.
Well, yeah, and that makes sense because that's the one thing that does. I hate technology. I just do. I like people. I don't like technology because it has dumbed up society. It's dumbed up people. It's created self-entitlement issues with both across all the generations. Doesn't matter how old or young they are. It's created entitlement issues. It's created so many things. And it's like, no.
Yes, no, I agree. I agree with
that. But with that being said, this has been very informational and very helpful, I think, for my audience as well. I know that this has been very beneficial for my audience because now it's giving them more to think about. It's, than what they would have been aware of, like even myself included, because it's like, like I said, after Columbine, that's when I remember our school started, like the active shooter and stuff like that. Was after that. But before that, we didn't ever have that. So when you said there was stuff before Columbine, I'm like, I wouldn't know that one. Yeah. I didn't know that happened. So, but like you said, at the same time, it's also one of those lightning kind of things, like when you said in the very beginning, but it's always being prepared just in case at the same time.
Exactly. So, always need to be prepared. Yes.
What's the best way for our audience to get in contact with you?
Well, I have a LinkedIn page. You can look me up there under my name. And I'm also on there's a Facebook page for my book, The First 5 Minutes. You can go on there. And it's got my information on there, my email, my phone number. The book is called The First 5 Minutes on Amazon. I don't come on here to sell the book. I mean, it's 77 pages. It's a guidebook. It's very helpful because it's just common sense stuff. It's very short. You can read it, in a few hours. I didn't want a big book with 200, 300 pages sit on a shelf collecting dust. But yeah, that's how they can get a hold of me. And if you have any questions, I'd appreciate it that you could email me. I'd be glad to answer them. If you want me on again, Robin, that's fine. We can go on longer and talk about more stuff. But yeah, this was great. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it as well. And I want everyone to be sure to subscribe and share Healing for the Soul podcast with everyone you know. And I encourage you to follow me, Robin Stoltman, on social media and my guest, Daniel Deinsky, as well. And thank you for your time and energy while listening to today's episode of Healing for the Soul podcast.
Thank you, Robin.
Yes, thank you.
That's all for now, folks. Thanks for listening to Thank You for Fun. Help that fall bucket. Subscribe. Quack, quack. Bye-bye. Well, next time. No, Mommy will you got it. Yeah.